Loki Episode 2 reveals a lot of new details about the TVA, the Timekeepers, and the MCU Sacred Timeline, leaving some big unanswered questions along the way. At the end of Episode 1, Loki had been officially contracted by TVA analyst Mobius to help apprehend another rogue Loki variant, wreaking havoc on the timeline. In Loki Episode 2, the hunt commences, culminating in a shocking twist and several major Nexus events. The whole episode is taut and action-packed, moving quickly from one revelation to the next as the search for Lady Loki intensifies. And with Loki now effectively framed for the crime, things could get even crazier in Episode 3. Until then, Loki Episode 2 has left some big questions hanging here. Welcome to the Ardent Blogger, a channel for all the curiosity lovers who want to know something different every day. Today, we are back with an amazing video. If you have not subscribed to the channel, you are missing out a lot. Number 7. Where did Lady Loki come from? Near the beginning of Loki Episode 2, Mobius mentions that the TVA regularly encounters Loki variants, and that many of them vary in their physical appearance. Presumably, Lady Loki's differences from the main MCU Loki are results of this same phenomenon. But where exactly do these altered variants come from? If the TVA does such a good job of keeping the sacred timeline intact, how is there room for so many different kinds of Loki? Lady Loki didn't just appear from nothing after all. She too must have been born, grown up, and had similar misadventures to the main Loki. So why is she only being discovered and confronted now? Number 6. What is Lady Loki's plan? Lady Loki effectively bombs the sacred timeline at the end of Episode 2. A TVA readout lists an ongoing set of times and places where she sent reset charges, including non-Earth locations like the living planet Ego and Thanos' homeworld of Titan. The reset charges are meant to erase divergent branches from the sacred timeline, but by erasing moments of the sacred timeline itself, Lady Loki set off a chain reaction of major Nexus events that will be difficult to contain. But why did she do it? And why did she kidnap a TVA hunter to find out the location of the Timekeepers? The clearest possible answer is simply that Lady Loki wants to use her powers to destroy the sacred timeline and resurrect the original multiverse. That could just be an act of chaos, but it's likely that her motivations are more complex. The details, however, have yet to be revealed. Number 5. What do the Timekeepers actually want? The true motivations of the Timekeepers have remained a mystery in Loki so far. Ostensibly, they simply want to maintain order by keeping the multiverse distilled into the single sacred timeline. However, there are already lots of clues that what the Timekeepers truly want is more sinister. In Episode 2, Mobius tells Loki that the Timekeepers are busy figuring out how the sacred timeline should end, and that once that puzzle is solved, the TVA and all the rest of reality will converge into a single peaceful conclusion. But there are a lot of holes in that story. Number 4. What does Ravonna Ranslayer know? In Loki Episode 2, TVA judge Ravonna Ranslayer tells Mobius that she's been in recent contact with the Timekeepers and that they have taken a special interest in the Lady Loki. But is she telling the whole story? In the comics, Ranslayer is the love interest of time-traveling villain Kang the Conqueror, a character coming to the MCU in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. That doesn't necessarily mean that she will become a villain in the MCU, but it does open a lot of possibilities for her character. Given how little is truly known about the Timekeepers, it's possible that Ranslayer knows more than she's saying. Number 3. What would happen if the sacred timeline was destroyed? During the start of Loki Episode 2, Loki has a brief conversation with the sort of recorded, sort of sentient animated character, Miss Minutes, who tells Loki that if the sacred timeline is permanently warped by an unfixable Nexus event, reality, as it's known, would be destroyed. But what does that actually mean? An MCU multiverse existed prior to the intervention of the Timekeepers, which means it could be sustainable again. The only reason to think that the end of the sacred timeline would destroy reality is that, allegedly, the existence of the multiverse in the past led to a devastating war between the timelines. But the Timekeepers could be lying about that war, and even if they are not, there's no way to prove that the same thing would happen again if the multiverse were restored. Number 2. How many other Loki variants are there? The existence of Lady Loki begs the question, how many other Loki variants are out there in the MCU? Theoretically, there would be an endless number if the timeline truly continues to cycle in perpetuity. That means other Lokis could show up in the series, either on the side of Lady Loki or as independent agents of chaos. Mobius says in episode 2 that rogue Loki variants pop up more than nearly any other person in history. Is that simply because of Loki's mischievous nature, or could there be a deeper reason? Number 1. What happens at the end of the Sacred Timeline? Mobius tells Loki in episode 2 that the timekeepers haven't yet sorted out how the Sacred Timeline ends. That detail opens up countless further questions about how the Sacred Timeline actually works. How far into the future does the current timeline go, and what happens when it hits the point that hasn't yet been decided? Does the universe exist through its heat death? And what would a proper ending actually look like? As with many time travel stories, these questions ultimately just lead to more questions. It remains to be seen how many of the details will actually be revealed and explained. For now, the end of time will remain classified. We are glad you have made till the end. We have handpicked the videos which we recommend you watch next. Feel free to talk to us on our social media channels or on our website theardentblogger.com about any recommendations or suggestions.